Alright everyone, we start off today talking about cis and cisgender. Are they slurs or offensive references of some sort? Now first, of course, in full disclosure, as a long-term troll and lover of unbridled free speech, I don't really get offended by anything. You're going to have to go far more out of your way than saying sissy or something like that. With a C, of course. It's a new trend among, certain people who are, LGBTQ plus MAPIOU 123. Basically, Tumblrites. If you're offended by people from Tumblr, you need to grow a thicker skin because you're definitely on the lower end of the totem pole when it comes to the ability to resist criticism. I don't therefore have a personal problem with it. It depends on the usage, and that tends to correlate with the usage of what is colloquially deemed a slur. I would note that changes over time. It's sort of like the liberals now use the term people of color to denote the fact that from their wine-stained penthouses, they imagine that a person from Ghana is basically the same as a person from Indonesia. That they believe this, and so those people, of course, should throw in together for voting purposes and give them money. Yeah, I hate to say it, but the Dems are real racist meme does strike true sometimes. Here's the real talk, though, behind it. And this is predicated on Elonmusk the other day on Twitter, saying that repeated abuse of an individual using a term like cis, they don't like it, they've asked you to stop, would run afoul of harassment policies on site. I think that you should just block the person. There are methods to do that, although I would point out that Twitter does need a beefier blocking system. Right now, blocking means the person can talk about you can't see it or respond to it, but they can still respond to other people on the threads that you yourself create. It doesn't really help. The muting and blocking function on Twitter is not the same as it tends to be on other sites. Like if I block someone on YouTube, which I virtually never do, they can't comment on any of my shit. Well, then it's all good. They can't see what I post, etc. They can't interact with me in any way. On Twitter, they can still spout shit about you on your own posts so long as they grab the link from somebody else who has replied. So they just follow a middleman, basically, in order to continue trashing you. He says that people on Twitter can be banned now for repeatedly using that language in a pejorative manner, and it can be. Using the term sissy, of course, with a C instead of an S, it's takeoff of the antiquated term sissy. That used to be a thing like you'd hear it sometimes when I was a kid. I think, isn't that more of a Gen X thing, or even a boomer thing? Not exactly sure. It's still in use, just more sporadically. Not sure what the Zoomers would say as a replacement. I guess no cap, man bun, I suppose. So for Twitter's purposes, they're considering it a slur, or usable as a slur. Which is fine. I mean, it's a private company. It could do what it wants, right, Tumblr people? Here's the real talk, though. What is deemed a slur normally doesn't have to do with any objective offensiveness to a word, now does it? It doesn't have to do, in many cases, even with a party feeling particularly aggrieved about the usage. The N-word is the greatest example. Don't many people of color, as the Democrats now call them confusingly, it sounds a lot like colored people to me. It's been pointed out by more than me at this point. Vivek Ramaswamy the other day taking that same tone up. Don't they use the N-word in a context that's not offensive? So it's in a rap lyric or something, or it's even used in a friendly manner. It's sort of an inversion of that meaning. The usage of that term typically aggrieves white liberal politicians more than any other group of people, to be entirely honest and clear. The same is true of cis. Certain individuals within politics or the rungs of power and a bunch of craptivistic grifters will pretend that the term has become offensive now. There is something deeper here. I realize that rubbing the left's face in the concept of that particular gender label being offensive is mainly a troll. I agree with that. It's funny to watch them get confused and sputter and become hypocrites, basically. That's funny. But I'm also not going to pretend that I am offended by the use of the term cis, nor should anybody else really be doing that. That's how you get more authoritarianism. Because at some point, some empowered moneyed interests, so not you and me for the most part, will take a hold of that basic concept and they'll start selling their book, Why We Need to Ban the Word Cis, or something like that. I mean, this does happen. Usually it's very top down. think about the words that you've been told are offensive. Who decided that they were offensive? Was it the group that it was applied to? Or more often than not, was it a handful of screeching wolverines and harpies in some craftivistic movement, plus some politicians that helped them out? And people like Al Sharpton or whatever. Those are the ones that determine what you consider to be obscene or whatever. It's like, what is obscenity? I always chuckle at obscenity laws related to speech. It's like the word fuck. Okay, number one, it can mean basically anything. It can be used in virtually any context. The more core context is fornication, of course. Well, who cares? Why is that particular term as opposed to having sex, having intercourse, making love? What the fuck is the difference? To put it bluntly, who cares? Obscenity and sort of bigotry in general, like saying certain things, crime statistics, etc. It's in the eye and ear of the beholder, number one, and also in the eyes and ears of the real beholders, which are the people that determine censorship policies. So corporations, in the modern sense, often big tech, and publishers, and in government, basic law enforcement. Those are the people that control your minds through linguistics on a regular basis. And they know how to do this, and you would too if you studied linguistics as I have. It's amazing how many doors and windows are opened into a wider view of the world when you understand how powerful language can be. Whether it's spoken or printed or digital, doesn't really make any difference. It's amazing how often you'll notice that someone is trying to mind control you, actually. It happens to me on a daily basis that someone at least makes an attempt. Normally it comes from Fox or CNN or some group like that. So, a slur effectively is for the purposes of mind control and censorship of dissident movements. You've created a term that encapsulates a meaning, that's what linguistics is for, and you've determined that the meaning is bad and wrong or badong. And so you've given it that label, slur. And so all of a sudden it's in the same category as other words that have nothing to do with it. You've just created a new super label to encompass wrong think concepts, wrong terms, wrong speak. Bad speak. And so you're not allowed to use it. Of course, cis is never going to actually be entered into the Hall of Fame of slurs that you're not allowed to use on the internet, especially when Elon is the one pushing it. What the natural reaction is that all of the other sites will probably start using cis as a gender label for social media purposes or something like that. They'll go in the opposite direction. But again, I'm not offended by it. I'm not offended by very much, actually. Again, you have to go way out of your way. You have to go beyond 4chan B levels of trolling in order to find something to say that I'm going to find particularly freaky, since I've used the internet. I'm a core millennial. I remember the days of web-based chat rooms and LimeWire and shit like that. So yeah, good luck. It's not a slur, to be clear, to be non-glib. However, it can be used as a pejorative. And in that sense, yeah, it's a private company. It can do what it wants to. If all the Tumblr users get banned off of Twitter that are still there, it will be funny. It'll be goddamn hilarious. Also, the site would improve. So, while I'm anti-censorship in every possible way, there's always a silver lining to every dark cloud. Even censorship sometimes. That's about all. Peace out.